Welcome to The Fiber, brought to you by Live Oak Fiber, where we weave together the stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and changemakers who are the very fabric of their communities. Join us as we spotlight those who embody the spirit of connection, resilience, and progress. Hey everyone, Garret O'Leary here again with round 3. Let's go. I don't know what I was saying.
Yeah, let's go ahead and cut that one. Yeah.
This will be the intro. We'll just leave that one.
All right.
Hey everyone, Garret here with Live Oak Fiber. I'm back for another podcast. This time we were with Tevan Millette, so thank you for coming in today. Tevan, go ahead and give me a breakdown of your background and kind of, what brought you to Destin and everything you're up to now.
Yeah, absolutely, Garret. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
So I actually grew up in the state of New Hampshire, and so I am 100% not from this area, but I will say that I absolutely love this area. And so let's see, where should we begin? I'd say back when I graduated from high school, I was probably around 16, 17 years old, graduated a little early.
Nice.
I ended up getting the boot from the house.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I know, right?
Even better, yeah.
And so once that happened, I ended up finding a place to live. Someone was very, very generous to me. And I'll eventually go ahead and try to repay back in dividends, that kind of thing. And I would say that they are probably the ones, or I'd say that they're totally responsible for this one, honestly, for having me join the military.
Okay.
And so they had me join the National Guard. They talked to me one day. They're like, hey, Tevan, listen up. You can't stay here for much longer.
We're giving you the boot too now.
Exactly, yeah. I just said to her, I totally understand. I'd probably do the same exact thing after a while. So she got me to join the National Guard. And when I came back from basic combat training, because it was just National Guard, I still needed something to do during the rest of the time instead, because there's just one weekend a month and then 2 weeks maybe in the summertime that I have to go ahead and do something. So I decided, I was like, you know what, let's go do the police academy route. And so that is exactly what I did. As soon as I graduated, I actually became a corrections officer, and I was fully employed by the New Hampshire State Prison for Men. Well, one day I decided, or actually I would say somebody else decided for me. They told me that, hey, you don't really belong here. Go for something a little bit bigger. And so I said, well, this is pretty big. What do you mean bigger,
Rude.
So I ended up actually dropping a packet to go active duty military, and I ended up going special forces.
Okay.
And I had no idea what I was in for. I'm not even going to lie to you. I won't bluff. And I found myself over in Fort Benning, Georgia at jump school. Did never anticipate that one happening. So after that, I went to the Special Forces selection. I ended up getting selected, and then a few years later, I donned the Green Beret. And so I was super, super excited about that. And now I find myself here. So
could be worse places to end up, I guess.
100%, yeah.
So your jump from the National Guard to active duty, Green Beret, I'm sure that was, how long was that process before, once you decided to leave National Guard and go Green Beret? Was it a few months, a couple weeks, or how does their basic kind of work? Excuse my ignorance on this one, because I don't know.
No, hey, it's totally okay. It's shrouded in mystery. I totally get it. So it was actually a process of probably about 2 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was wild.
A lot
I did
longer
not
than
anticipate.
Yeah.
And trust me, when I went into it, I was thinking, oh, maybe this will just be like a year or something like that, adventure. Oh, no, was I wrong?
Is that a bunch of different schools you have to go to? Because you said jump school, but is there stuff, like a bunch of stuff in between there that you're kind of jumping to and from?
Good question. So the jump school itself was actually a prerequisite to doing absolutely anything and everything in this pipeline. Once I ended up entering into the pipeline, it was broken down into a series of schools. Okay. And each one was just different kinds of challenges. One might be a very mental type of challenge, and the other ones were just more physical. Okay. And so eventually came to a culminating end to where it just combined absolutely everything that was talked about and instructed throughout the entirety of it. But
was the transition from National Guard to Green Beret a little bit easier than maybe you expected, or was it as difficult as it may seem?
It was a little difficult for me, and that is just because nobody I knew was familiar with that process. Okay. My unit, they had never sent anybody to go this route before, and so it was completely new for all of us. But it's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So how long, are you still a Green Beret, or is it you've kind of transitioned out of that into something different, or?
Nope, still am.
Still
am, yep.
How long have you been in for total, years-wise?
I've been in for, give or take, 11 or 12 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Quite some time.
Yeah.
How many times, my God, I can talk. How much time did you spend as a National Guard or Guardsman?
Let's see. I was in the National Guard for a fairly short period, probably 2 or 3 years, right around there. My original contract was actually supposed to be around like 6 years.
Okay.
But, of course, given the circumstance and we wanted to try something a little different, they actually allowed me to go. And I was very surprised. Yeah. Because everybody's like, oh, no, you're going to need to finish out your contract. And little old me at the time, a little Private Millette, just
like, no, you can go. We'll sign that real quick. Get out of here. And that was in your hometown, sort of, like at least in the general area? It was.
It was probably in the vicinity of at least, or I should say proximity for that matter, about 30 minutes from the house.
So you ended up out here how long ago then?
I got here into Florida probably around the 2019 time frame.
Okay. So you got here just in time for COVID, sort of.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely, yeah.
Did you buy a house during that time?
I did.
Oh, you lucky duck.
I did, I know.
Mine was just after, dude, and I'm telling you, I was like, all my friends that had gotten something like, oh, yeah, 2.25. I'm like, shut up.
Oh, yeah. Every time I log into that mortgage, well, I'm looking at that.
Yeah. Every time I send mine, I'm like, damn it, dude. I'm like,
I know. Yeah, it's just so unfortunate. None of us saw it coming. None of us.
No. The funny thing is, I first moved here from California January 20th, 2020. I literally sold all my stuff from California. I flew out here. I always tell this because I think it's kind of funny. My priorities when I first moved here was like I sent in a box my PC, my custom-built PC that I played video games on, and my PlayStation. I had one duffel bag of clothes, and I got here, and my brother was like, all right, you can just move in, and, we'll figure out, find a job. And at the time, I was working in the sports industry.
Okay.
Or I just left the sports industry. So I was like, oh, I'll get a job with, like, the Ice Flyers or the Blue Wahoos or something.
Yeah.
A month and a half later, they're like, oh, yeah, did you hear about this? We're closing everything down for 2 years. I'm like, you son of a... And I was like, all right, find something different. But it cracks me up because I literally came out here with my only priority was like my PlayStation and my PC. And I was like, let's play Call of Duty or something.
Oh, that's good stuff.
But no, now it's quiet. I mean, I love this area. Yeah. This is by far the most fun and like beautiful place I've ever lived.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Absolutely amazing.
And are you here like local, like Fort Walton area, Niceville, or are you?
Yeah, pretty close. Okay. I'm actually right over in Santa Rosa.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, so.
And where was I going with that one? The next question I have with that. So as a Green Beret, obviously I've done a little bit of research on you. You're involved in a whole lot of different things right now. You've got your own businesses. You're involved in a lot of organizations. We'll start off with the basic. How do you manage your time between being active duty military, but then also kind of dabbling and then stepping your foot into something or the things that you're involved in now?
So that's kind of a loaded question.
That's what we're here for.
100%. I would probably start off by answering the compartmentalization. Mm-hmm. Compartmentalization for me is huge. And understanding that everything has its place. Mm-hmm. And then also just being very in tune with my schedule. So taking advantage of all kinds of resources out there to just properly manage all of my things that I'm doing.
Okay.
So I might go ahead and block out a period of time. It's say 0500 in the morning, of course. I might go ahead and do a little meditation, a little bit of prayer, and then I just start my day. Mm-hmm. And if that is including, I would say, maybe a run, so cardiovascular kind of exercises, or possibly needing to go ahead and answer emails because I know that I'm going to have a busy day in the Army, then so be it. Now, of course, everything's always flexible. You got to remain fluid.
Yeah.
And so as I progress through the day with the Army, I might have a couple of phone calls scheduled for right after my actual Army day. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of parcel it out like that.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, for us right now, it's like, handling your day just in a normal amount of time is almost impossible with one job. So how many jobs do you have? I put it like that just because I know you're involved in a number of different things.
Yeah, that's...
How many jobs would you say you have?
Yeah, right. Too many. Way too many. So right now, I have a nonprofit organization.
Okay.
And then I also happen to have a pest control business as well as a real estate business, and I'm currently working on another one right now. It's a little bit of a surprise.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we gonna get a sneak peek on it in this episode?
Actually, we might.
We'll get that towards the end then.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're gonna have to stay to the end in this one.
Oh, absolutely. And then one of the other ones is I actually have an entertainment facility. It is a arcade-based kind of entertainment facility. And you can go in there. There's rage rooms. There's paint splatter rooms. And you can go in and just simply play arcade games if you want to. Dart lanes.
That's cool.
All kinds of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. I guess we'll jump back. So I want to talk about your time in the military because obviously it's still a huge part of your life.
Yes.
For you joining, obviously what you've achieved so far, what are some of your highlights? What do you feel like has been maybe some influential moments or just, I guess, moments that have really inspired you to continue doing what you the path that you're on now, basically? Another loaded question, I think.
Oh, yeah. So I view the military in a very unique way. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, at first, of course, we have in garrison. In garrison is typically when you are just located in the States at a traditional base. So say Eglin Air Force Base. That kind of airman or soldier, regardless of who that person is, whatever branch they may be in, they are typically going into maybe an office space or going out to the field, what have you, something like that. It's within the States. They're not active on a deployment or anything like that. So everything's a lot more lax. Mm-hmm. There's that aspect of things. That is more of like a traditional office job, so to speak, if you will. Now, the way that I see it, though, is operationally, whenever I get deployed, that has really done something different to me deep down. When I'm actually able to go out to another country and I can go ahead and truly help somebody, that's what makes it all. Yeah. That right there. That's what I truly care about. I want to help people. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of countries that I've been to in the past few years. I've had multiple deployments, and I won't specify any at the moment. But what I will say is having had the ability to truly make a difference in people's lives was absolutely incredible. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking simply giving people shelter or, digging a well for a village or something like that. Now, don't get me wrong. That stuff is absolutely amazing. I never will go ahead and, suppress that by any means. But having the personal experience and firsthand experience, for that matter, bringing somebody up, defending their home, helping them rebuild, do all these different kinds of things. Now, obviously, there are more sensitive topics in there of things that I got to go ahead and do and be a part of. But that is what really drives me with everything. So,
and that pretty much reflects just straight over to what you do in your personal life with all these new businesses, all these different organizations that you're part of.
Yeah. So, of course, the one with the arcade games and stuff like that. That was definitely just for fun. Yeah, that was like,
you're like, here's my passion.
Awesome. Yeah.
Where's that place located? Real quick to interject on that one.
Yeah, that is actually located in Panama City. It's called the Rage Cage.
I've heard of it.
You have?
Never been to it, but I have heard of it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Because my fiance, when we first met, she lived in Panama City.
Yeah.
And so I was up there all the time. But I have heard of it because I was always looking for stuff to do. And I was like, oh, maybe we'll do something like this. But it's always like, let's go get dinner or something.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then as far as the other businesses, to kind of explain why I did that. When I was in the qualification course to go ahead and become a Green Beret, I was up over in North Carolina. In North Carolina, I found myself one day just thinking, wow, it would be awesome to be a homeowner. How do I do it? I had no idea. And so by the power of YouTube University, I call it, and Google, I found my way. So I found a local real estate agent. I hired that agent, and I told her, everything that you do, I want you to show me, be transparent, teach me. That was it. And so she did. Once that was complete, I actually realized, hey, I know how to buy a house. And then, a little while later, I'm thinking to myself, how do I sell a house?
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
So I rehired her again.
To sell your house?
Exactly, to sell my house. And so I told her the same exact excerpt. And I was like, hey, go ahead, show me everything that you're doing. Just break every single step down. If I have any questions, please just go ahead and answer them. Yeah. And she did. And so then I was like, all right, stamp that as complete. Now I know how to sell a house.
Yeah.
So once I did that, I did it again. And then I did it again. I was thinking to myself, wow, this is actually absolutely amazing. I wonder what else could I do with this? So I sat down one night and I wrote down a complete goal sheet. And some of the first 3 were ones that I could complete within the immediate 30 days. The other ones were a little bit longer. So 6-month goals, followed by 1-year goal, 2-year, 3-year, 5-year. Some of the largest milestones that most people would go ahead and organize their thoughts out on.
Yeah.
Now, one of my other goals was, how can I go ahead and teach another service member how to do this? And so I looked at my buddy. I was like, hey, you want to buy a house? I can go ahead and show you. And then so I couldn't necessarily help them per se in the transaction because I wasn't licensed yet.
Yeah.
And so what I did instead was just went ahead and told them everything that they need to go ahead and look out for. And then about 30 days later, they successfully closed on a house.
Nice.
And I thought that was huge. And I'll never forget the way he just shook my hand, and he actually gave me a hug after. He's like, brother, thank you so much. And then that really hit me. I was like, well, I didn't know that was going to be that impactful.
Yeah.
And so right then I realized, wow, I could go ahead and really make a difference with that. Maybe just pour out as much knowledge as I can, go ahead and get my hands on and just take it in and then redistribute it out.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting my license down here, my real estate license. And after a few years, or actually no, less than a year, I decided, wow, I really want to open up my own brokerage because this is just amazing. How about I don't just help people, but I can help other people do the same thing that I'm doing, maybe multiply just my efforts.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. That was the reasoning behind opening the brokerage. Now, I'm not money hungry about it or anything like that. Yes, it comes with the territory. Of course, we all know that.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's
you
really...
You gotta eat.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the family's got to eat. You got to provide.
Yeah.
And so I'm very, very happy to do so.
Yeah.
But being able to help somebody else feed their family, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then so I just kept on going with it. And so...
How many agents do you have at your brokerage now?
So we have rated about 18 at the moment.
Wow.
And so that's kind of what we're working with. And I hope to definitely see it grow in the future. But as long as these folks are just continuing to excel, that's where my focus lies.
Do you pretty much try to just only recruit like brand new agents so you can teach them from the start, or you kind of accept anybody if they just want to switch over to your brokerage?
Yeah, really anybody.
Okay.
And so if you come in with a really good attitude and you just want to learn, or maybe even teach me, because I definitely don't know it all.
Yeah.
I'm always open to learning more.
Yeah.
And so I just tell people, hey, if you really want to go ahead and lock in, engage with the community, and just really help all these people out, please come on by.
Yeah.
Now, there are some people who get into real estate, and you got to kind of tell them, like, hey, it's not the easiest thing to do, because we're in an area where there's an oversaturation of real estate agents. We all know it.
Oh, yeah. You turn left and right, and they're there.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you wake up, you get a text message, hey, you're looking to sell your house.
Yeah, really,
You know, 123 Main Street.
Hey, did you want to hang out at your sold house? What?
Yeah.
So what do you do differently in your mind? And this may be trade secrets, so you might not be able to share. Oh, yeah. What do you feel that separates you from other brokers?
Well, I would say... that's actually a really good question.
Got him.
Yeah. Now, I think that I might genuinely care. And by me saying that, like I genuinely care, I'm not so sure that some other people do genuinely care.
Oh, yeah. I can believe that.
That's just is what it is. It's the reality. I've seen a lot of different kinds of agents, come and go just in the industry in general. But then also having them on the other side in a transaction, I've seen the way that they interact with their people. And most of the time, even when I am representing a seller, okay, we all know what the National Association of Realtors just went through this past year as far as the lawsuits go and commission splits and things like that, and just really disclosing everything. Well, what I noticed, a lot of agents, one of the first things that they always went over to me and talked to me about whenever I'm representing a seller is like, hey, how much am I making off you?
Like, that's how you're starting this one off.
Yeah. That just tells me right there, like, I'm not even so sure that you care about your client right now. And that is terrifying. But
I feel like that's what kind of got into that's how the NAR got into their lawsuit to begin with, is almost like that type of situation where it's, how do I make the most money?
Yeah.
And I can see how it all happened, because my brother's in real estate. I mean, when I first moved here, I worked with a number of real estate agents before I started working with Live Oak. I was on the marketing side of things. And I can see it. I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, obviously, people got to eat. So it is important where you need to determine what your commission is going to be and how it's going to work out. So I get part of that. In your opinion, due to this lawsuit, would you say that, I mean, have you seen a significant change in how agents and their clients interact with one another, especially on obviously on that buyer side?
I have.
Yeah.
I definitely have. I've seen a little bit of a shift.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it all for the good though?
Debatable.
That's 100%. So what I have seen a lot of agents, just doing, I'm not going to name names or anything like that. I don't want to go ahead and overstep on any ethical kind of violation by any means. But what I will say that I have seen before is people are trying to poach both sides now. Yeah. Which is an even more significant issue because now they are signing these buyer brokerage agreements with the actual client themselves, with a potential buyer. And then they go view a house. And then so now they have this agreement between them and they're getting a commission over here, but then they're trying to also go ahead and get another additional commission from the seller. And it's like, what's going on, guys? Come on. Yeah. Like, stop. Now, there are some brokerages out there who used to go ahead and tell their people, like, hey, you're not going to be able to actually fulfill your obligations unless you get X amount of commission. And so they were kind of dictating, which was another issue. Yeah. And so there was all that going on. Now, there is a lot more disclosing going on, which I'm very, very happy to see. That's really what it's about. Just be transparent. Tell somebody exactly what to expect. Be upfront about it and put it on paper. Yeah. And it's not necessarily so bad to be putting on paper, which they should have already been doing that. Yeah. And I always coach and tell people, like, hey, just be open. Just be relaxed. I mean, there's a benefit to it. Like, even if you're just coming to say, hey, listen, I'm doing this because of a paycheck, but you also like, I need to do the best I can, so you refer me to all your friends. Yeah. I mean, it's a viable option to it where it's like, yeah, you might not necessarily care of who they are, but the honesty aspect of it is probably a big thing. We're like, listen, they did a great job. They didn't care who I was, but I mean, I mean, that might push someone away, but it's like, they got the job done and they did a great job. Like, I will refer them because they're no nonsense. They get it done. Yeah. And that's a viable option. And I feel like that makes sense. Cause again, when I worked in there, I felt like there was a lot of people that are, oh, I'm this, that, and everything else. And then it's like, no, I know what you're doing. Yeah. 100%. I know what you're doing. Yeah. And it's funny. There's a saying that I grew up with, and it was when I was into martial arts. I did martial arts for well over a decade. I advanced, to all kinds of different ranks. I did all different kinds of martial arts and whatnot, like different forms of it. But what I used to always get told was always maintain self-control, self-discipline, and respect. That right there. Yeah. That is my solid philosophy. And self-control. Now, of course, there's all kinds of different interpretations of all these different things. But in my world, self-control was control one's actions, emotions, as well as impulses. Self-discipline, do the things you should do without being told. And then respect, treat others the way you like to be treated. Yeah. That's it. And so that right there, that has carried me through so many different things in life. And I do drag that philosophy right into business. Because I truly do think, just honestly, what the Army says, integrity. Yeah. Integrity is everything. It's simple. Yeah. I mean, that's why that's why it's there. Yeah. And I don't know why it's always so overcomplicated. Yeah. It drives me insane. The modern world is a complicated place. And I think people love to make it more complicated, but yeah. Yeah. So talking about other businesses, that's not the only thing you're involved in. So you have, obviously, I know you said pest control. Yes. Talk about that and then tell me what else you're doing too. Yeah. So pest control, I got into pest control simply because it was actually a piggyback off of real estate. Okay. And so one thing I noticed was with the pest control side of the house, I was always referring people out to different kinds of pest control companies. Yeah. But what I saw happening was a lot of them, they were just trying to go ahead and get as much money out of a client as possible. And I thought that was one, disrespectful, and two, just absolutely flat out wrong. Yeah. And some of the prices that they were, or I should say everybody is just getting charged these days is just, it's asinine. And I was trying to figure out a way to go ahead and just make it more affordable for people. So I myself got into pest control. I studied pest control. And on my actual team, there is somebody who has a PhD in entomology. And so anytime I personally have questions, I actually go ahead and refer out to her. And she is just absolutely stellar. And the reason that I have things set up the way I do is exactly for the aforementioned things. But then also because I want to make sure that somebody's getting top service, top-notch service. I don't want, Joe Schmo or anything like that who just, studied off of YouTube or university. Although, don't get me wrong, I do refer
it can
to
be useful sometimes.
Yeah, I do refer to it. Yeah, exactly. I was changing out a part on the car the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, YouTube.
Google how to do it.
Yeah.
I do it literally all the time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
To interject, most of the stuff that I learned, especially when I first started my career in like doing photography and videography, hours and hours and hours was spent on YouTube just watching other people do it. Just be like, I like that. I'm going to do that too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's emulating what works. And I think as you learn the skills to it, you apply it in different ways. I mean, I absolutely love YouTube. I went to college, but I would almost say YouTube has done a lot more for me.
Oh, yeah.
I got my bachelor's and master's, and I would say YouTube, I've learned a lot from that.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
It's fun. But sorry, okay, go back to what you were saying, though.
Yeah, no, all good. But that's just one of the biggest things. I wanted to be able to provide an affordable service for people and actually be super thorough. And that was the main driving factor behind that. But,
and how many people do you have working for you for pest control? Or what's your business name, too?
Yeah. It's Pest Marshals in Northwest Florida.
Okay.
And as of right now, there's just 2 people.
Okay.
We just go ahead and we do all the operations on everything, and we just make sure that everybody gets served properly.
Yeah. Keep your guys' schedule pretty busy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Especially with it, we're kind of nearing up on springtime, and so everything's been sparking up. My phone has been, off the hook lately. And I'm just thinking to myself, holy smokes, guys. Absolutely, yes. I'll be there that day.
Yeah, we'll figure that part out. Yeah.
Yeah, let me get back to you, but yes, we can go ahead and serve you.
I mean, it's again admirable what you're doing, because I personally, when I bought my house, we gutted the whole inside, basically renovated the whole thing. And I feel like there was a lot of times where I reach out to a contractor of some sorts, and you never know if they're giving you 100% honesty.
Yeah.
Best example is I wanted to get my chimney cleaned. They come in. I won't name names because I think they did a good job, and I felt like they were being fairly honest with me.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things like, hey, you have water damage inside your chimney flue or whatever they call it.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I don't know enough to tell you no, to be honest. And all they're saying is like, if you let it go on, that means like you're basically either seal up your chimney type thing or you'll never be able to use your fireplace. I'm like, okay, fair enough. So yeah, let's just do it. $3,000 later, everything kind of comes out. And it's like one of those things where it's like, I don't know if they're just telling everybody that.
Did I really need that?
Yeah, and that's the thing where I was like, I mean, I understand that the labor is hard. It's, you got to find people with certain specialties that know how to do it. More than willing to pay people for that. But that's always been a concern with mine, and I think a lot of people feel that too, especially when it comes to their homes. It's like, I don't know if I just wasted $300-400 or now do I get myself into projects now going to cost me $3,000-5,000?
Yeah.
So that's definitely admirable, and I think that's definitely something. I mean, thank you for that, because that's important. I mean, again, new homeowners, they don't know a dang thing about owning a house and maintaining it. You learn it on the way. That's what I'm doing right now. It's like, got to fix the water damage from there. What do I do with the water lines for my washer and dryer and whatnot?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and right when you close on the house, your stack of documents is like that big.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to flip through all that.
No.
And then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, you got this, you got that, you got that, you got that, and it's like,
yeah.
How do I translate all that? What does this all mean?
How do I afford it too is another question. I mean,
that's a huge one.
Maintaining, again, with pest control, I mean, we do like termite bond stuff, or I have a termite bond on mine. It's like one of those things like, I don't think about it. They just tell me, hey, we're coming out. I'm like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
See you out there.
Yep.
And it's one of those things like, am I wasting money or not? So I think so how do you go about differently? Like, when you meet with a client, maybe not necessarily you, but when you meet with a person that wants to get your services, how do you go about kind of creating that rapport with them where you're like, listen, like I'm telling you the legit 100%, this is what you need. You can probably, not necessarily do this. Like, is there kind of a formula or some sort of language you like to use when it comes to making sure that they understand, like, I'm not trying to take your money.
Yeah. So
or just take your money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So during my initial approach, what I always try to tell them is, because most people, you make a phone call, you're trying to get a quote on the phone. I totally get it. Everybody wants to do that. Saves time, effort, resources, you name it. It's a little challenging sometimes to go ahead and do that on the phone for a pest control kind of a job. And so what I usually tell somebody, or at least try to extract the information of, is what's the square footage of the house? How big is the yard that needs to be treated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now with that, as far as establishing that rapport with them, I'm trying to tell them like, hey, the labor cost really it's not all that high. The biggest charge you're going to see is the equipment if you need any or anything like that. But if it's just going to be a regular pest control treatment, such as maybe barrier spray, as well as treating the yard, all the trees, the shrubbery, and maybe around the points of ingress and egress on the house, so i.e. windows and doors, then you can expect this amount right here. And so that I can go ahead and tell them. But I'm always trying to explain, hey, and then actually, let me backtrack real quick. If they're telling me that a problem is super, super minute, and I'm not going to go for trying to upsell them on other packages or things like that. Like, no, I'll treat exactly what you need me to treat. I'm not going to be like, oh, yep.
You could do this. You could do that,
especially, what's the most notorious with cars and stuff like that? You go in for an oil change and then...
Did you know your alternators?
The alternator or like the cabin air filter they come out with it. It's like, wait.
It's only $60 that we got.
You're like, why do you even have that in your hand?
You're like, dude, I have one for $4 that I got off Amazon. They showed you it's dirty. You're like, no, it's not.
100%. And so I guess that's what I try to do. And then if I do a meet in person, I'm literally just breaking down everything. Because I truly do. I genuinely care. I really do. Maybe to a fault. I don't know. But with that being said, I want somebody to know, hey, I'm giving you the level of service that I personally would expect. Yeah. And so I hope that that's kind of a differentiating factor.
I'm sure it helps. Again, for people that are new homeowners, everything is a cost anymore, especially after that first year, 2 years that you bought. You're like, I'm still trying to recover from it. That it's so helpful. It's so helpful. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Because I mean, so many expenses that come in with buying a house, maintaining it. So it's probably, I bet you probably don't get told enough how helpful it is for them.
No, not all the time. Sometimes I do get some side comments such as, "Wow, you're way more affordable than I thought," and then I'm like, did I go too low?
Yeah,
nah, just kidding.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, only for certain jobs though. I am actually like, wow, maybe I did go too low on that one. But
that's hard.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah,
it's what it is. If I'm going to tell you something like, hey, this is this price, I'm going to honor that.
Yeah.
There's no sense. Even if and sometimes I'll go ahead and be like, hey, entertain me real quick. What was your other quotes at? Yeah. And there was this one particular job. You're like, oh, the other one was like $1,500 ahead of you. I was like,
dang.
Huh. It honestly did not need to be that much anyways. And so I wouldn't even have adjusted regardless.
I always know it's one of those instances too where obviously a lot of the contractors around here, because I think it's being a contractor in general, it's in demand. Handymen, I mean, stuff like that, you are needed everywhere. And I'm sure it's one of those things like, I'm just going to throw out a number, and if they say yes, wow, I'll find time. I bet it kind of plays into that a little bit. A lot of people are like, I'm so busy, but if you're willing to pay me $1,500, sure, I'll do it.
That's probably, you might be on the right track with that.
But cool. Well, what other businesses are you doing? Because you got, what, 2 more, right?
Yep. Okay. So, sort of, kind of.
Sort of.
1 in development.
Okay.
And then I will go ahead and just touch on the nonprofit organization.
Absolutely.
So the nonprofit is something that I have been working on for years now. And you could go ahead and say, well, you could have created the entity and then done this and then opened up the bank account for it and then go ahead and, file for the 501c3 status, blah, blah, blah. But I really wanted to be methodical with it. Yeah. I've been talking about it for well over 5 years, to be honest with you. Wow. And just trying to hone in on exactly which pillars, so to speak, I wanted to go ahead and really work in. So I found my niche, and this past, actually just like about a couple months ago, I finally officiated everything. Okay. So once I had my entire business plan up and operational, just blanketed term business plan. Yeah. And I had all my other ideas just pretty much all written down. I think I had over 30 to 40 pages of content. Wow. So that way I can just be extra thorough and truly have something to go off of. And what I wanted to ensure, now I'm not saying that this would ever cross my mind, but I wanted to make sure that this entity maintained a very northern moral compass. That is huge. Yeah. Because we all know there's a lot of organizations out there where eventually they go maybe to the east, maybe to the west, maybe down to the south, So I wanted to make sure that everything was always square. Okay. And so with that being said, some of the things that I focus on is children going through the adoption process. Now, I personally was adopted. And so when I was adopted, what did not happen was the state did not go ahead and step in and try to facilitate, funds being given over to the adopted parent, even though they said that was going to happen. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm trying to fulfill the role of like, hey, if you have a really good heart and you just simply want to adopt children, and you just need a little bit of financial help, just a little bit, even if it's just to get, maybe the additional clothing that's going to be necessary, additional furniture, you name it. I want to be able to help and just go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
And also, the adoption process within itself is just super expensive. Why it's super expensive, that's beyond me. Somebody well above my pay grade probably understands the answer.
Or they don't, maybe.
Yeah, or they don't too. Yeah, we all know that. Yeah, that happens. That's pretty prevalent in today's age. Yeah. But so with that's just one of the pillars.
Okay.
A secondary one is actually trying to assist people with articles of clothing.
Yeah.
So say somebody is in a little bit of unfortunate circumstance and they don't have the ability to afford clothing. Maybe they want to go to an interview, or they're trying to pursue some kind of professional, you name it, okay? Maybe they want to go to a school and they need to meet up with a registrar and they just need some nice clothing.
Yeah.
I want to be able to provide something like that. Another thing is food drives. I am looking to go ahead and just basically help facilitate, maybe even come up with the actual programs. So if that is me going around and just trying to humble myself and speak to other businesses like, hey, I need your help.
Yeah.
Then so be it. That's exactly what I'll go ahead and do. Now, the other thing is this is one of my biggest things, and it's probably one of the most difficult, but I've also found myself in a complete different circle lately by trying to go ahead and accomplish this, but affordable housing. We all know that there are a lot of different kinds of subsidized programs out there to go ahead and assist folks with obtaining affordable housing. Now, when I say affordable housing, probably 1,000,001 thoughts come to mind. Well, what I'm specifically trying to do is get somebody into a house. So if that is initiating some kind of bridge between like a Section 8 and then also how much their affordability factor is at that time, but maybe they just need that little bit of assistance just to at least get in there, then so be it. Then I'll go ahead and help out with those funds. I do, however, have a system in place that I'm going to go ahead and implement. And that is to truly track all of the funds, make sure that everything's being allocated properly, and I'm not just handing somebody a check kind of thing.
Yeah, and hoping they do the right thing with it.
100%, yeah. And so it's just me just trying to double tap, make sure. And now it's not invasive by any means, but it's just basically trying to make sure, like, hey, I just want to make sure that, you've got integrity with these funds.
Yeah.
And I hope that those folks who may want to go ahead and donate, because I did get my letter from the IRS, and we are 501c3. And the name is, thank you so much. I definitely appreciate it. Yeah, everything was official. It's been really piecing together, which is awesome. And the organization is called Lifelines of Hope Foundation.
Lifelines of Hope.
Yeah, Lifelines of Hope.
How long? So you said you've been thinking of this idea for 5 years.
Yeah, for 5 years.
What made you just kind of start it officially? Because when did you get it started? I guess when was the first step in this one? Not just the thought, but like actually physically doing something.
Yeah, putting pen to paper.
Yeah,
that was the biggest thing. And I definitely want to tell everybody, like, hey, if you just got an idea, just write it down, make it real. Because all I was doing for the first few years was I was just thinking. Yeah. And I was talking, talk to everybody. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and do
Love
that.
doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah. And
I'm going to go to the gym. Of course I am.
Yeah, yeah, so I just decided one day, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and write this down real fast. And so that was literally step one. Once I did that, that's when it turned into like the 30, 40 pages of just plans. And so after that, it's funny because last year I was sitting behind a counter at a local business. It was a friend's business. And I'm just hanging out. Didn't work there or anything like that. This guy comes in. Hey, I'm looking for a donation. Think in my head, what kind of donation? What do you need? What's happening? And they started to break it down. And they were actually a nonprofit organization that served Bay County. Well, in my head, I had been thinking, how did this guy do it? Because that was actually truly one of the other barriers that I had, was figuring out, how do I even file this? How do I even do it? And regardless of my continuous ongoing research on Google, I just wasn't finding specific key components to actually, making everything happen. And so I started pinging him with questions. And
he's like, I'm just here for
right? He's like, I just wanted a donation, brother.
I'm donating my time right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. So he gave me some golden knowledge nuggets, so to speak. And so once that happened, that was the catalyst to me going ahead and just doing the thing.
Yeah.
It really was. And it was just seeing him, and he was shining. And he was actually active duty Air Force.
Okay.
Forgive me, I can't remember his organization, but
somewhere in Bay County.
Yeah, somewhere in Bay County. Exactly. And I happily contributed funds to that. And what it ended up doing, or its purpose for that matter, was actually to go ahead and provide Thanksgiving dinners.
Oh, wow.
To multiple families. And it was just an absolute blessing to be able to do something like that. Because, sometimes you want to go ahead and just put money in a bucket and hope that it, your fingers crossed. You're like, oh,
make yourself feel good, but yeah.
But this way, I was actually able to see it truly come to fruition because I did check up on it. And he showed me the trail of monies and how it all worked. And
that's cool.
Because I asked for the inner workings to go ahead and assist me with what I was doing. And so
that's cool.
I actually got to credit a random stranger for me to actually, going from
if you're listening to this,
execution.
This is because of you right now.
Yeah. Thanks.
So for you, I guess, running into people like that.
Yeah.
Because obviously I have to imagine there's a ton of people that want to do good around here.
Yeah.
What would be, I guess your number one recommendation to not only just act on their ideas, but for helping the community? How do you get involved? What do you recommend for them? Is it asking questions? Is it going down to your local, food shelters, whatever it may be? Is it maybe just going to someone that that has been doing it so you can ask questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the things that I personally have done to help assist me with just knocking down different kinds of goals was I would go out to local leaders. Mm-hmm. So, but first and foremost, I did try to go from the lowest level up.
Yeah.
So I went to just local accessible people, business, walk in, talk. That's it. Simple conversation. Hey, I'm just kind of curious. What did you do to get here? How did you open up this business? And more times than not, most people, they want to chat about it.
Yeah.
They love it. They're passionate. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, there is on the flip side of that coin, there's some burnt out people, which take it with a grain of salt.
They might just be tired from that day. You never know.
I've been met with a lot of closed doors. Yeah. I absolutely have. And the ones who have kept the door open, though, that's the game changer right there. Mm-hmm. And so once I started talking to them, I went and participated in local events.
Yeah.
So the local Chamber of Commerce, I go and look at what kinds of events they have going on. And then I would just go out there and network. And then I meet some more people. And then it just keeps snowballing. And it's the coolest thing. Heck, I actually was at a Porsche reveal event. And so it was right in Destin. And I met some local town councilmen and some other really important folks. And we started talking, and they were asking me what I did, and I told them, like, hey, this is what I do, and these are some of the things that excite me, just basic stuff. Well, I got invited to an actual meeting that was being held with some other individuals that were working within the county, and now I am assisting by interjecting some of my ideas in some of their meetings for affordable housing initiatives, and I'm also looking into a couple other big projects with Okaloosa County, as well as Escambia County and Bay County now.
And that's all going to be sort of in relation to your nonprofit, or is that separate?
Yep, it's actually kind of all encompassing with the nonprofit, but then also kind of working towards some of my own individual ideas and hopefully putting myself out there even more to just help people. That's really what it is.
Yeah. So nonprofit's fully up and running now, technically. Yes. Mm-hmm. How do people get involved, like locals? Do they call you? Do they go to a website?
Yeah, so I'm so glad you asked. I have been working diligently on a website and all of its design, and so that's actually going to be up and running hopefully within maybe the next couple weeks or so.
Exciting.
There's just a couple little nuances I want to work out, and then they can always contact me. So you can literally just look up my name, and then my phone number is going to pop up right there. And so, just reach out anytime if there's ever any questions or anything like that. If you want to get involved kind of thing, I say just come with ideas. Talk to me. I'm super open. I'm a completely open book.
Yeah.
Completely. I want to talk about anything and everything.
So, obviously very busy.
Yeah.
Got a lot going on. What is, and I always like to ask this because I think you're obviously someone that's very much involved in the communities that you live in and that you serve and that you walk around in. And it's a question that I haven't actually asked in a while because I sort of sometimes forget, but also I feel like it makes sense for certain people. I think you're a perfect example of it. Like I told you before we got started, is that the point of this podcast is because people are a fiber of the community. They're very much involved. They're interwoven. I don't know, whatever the word is. Something like that. Whatever. But basically, you're so involved in it. So for you, what are other people or organizations that you think are other fibers of the community that you want to shout out? Because I think that's important. And that's part of our goal with this, too, is to make sure that everybody that can make a change in the community gets that shout out. So if you have any suggestions or people you think you just want to shout out.
Yeah. So this isn't quite a small business or anything like that. It's not necessarily something that's small, but somebody who is a little bit larger. Mm-hmm. They're kind of a bigger entity, but American Red Cross.
Okay.
I have leaned on them for several different things in the past, and I've also received multitude of points of guidance for me just kind of developing different ways to go ahead and assist the community, because they're very, very much involved. They're so much more involved in the community than I ever expected. And so huge shout out to the ladies as well as the gentlemen who work over there, because they're absolutely fantastic. Now, I don't know all the locations and satellite locations and all that in the area, but absolutely got to go ahead and give them a round of applause, because they are just absolutely incredible, and they really are there to just help people.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Tevan, thank you so much for coming on. I think inspiring what you do. Obviously, you got a full plate and then probably a couple of extra plates that you just manage somehow. Yeah. It's awesome. I think it's exciting. If you want to share anything about that business and or nonprofit, whatever you wanted to do, if we can get a sneak peek, I'm happy to do it. But if you can't, I understand. Not yet, maybe not.
Not yet.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I still have a few more meetings. I got to make sure everything's awesome.
We'll bring you back on for that one then.
Yeah.
But Tevan, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Garrett.
Thank you for tuning into The Fiber. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe. If you want to learn more about Live Oak Fiber, visit us at liveoakfiber.com.